We know that racism is a societal issue and does sometimes manifest itself in football. But let's be honest, football is not the only area or the only aspect of society where racism is a problem.
You know, we want them numbers to be lower and people to feel comfortable whenever they enter a football stadium.
Football, and indeed within any sport or anything where people come together, is there is an element where people become quite tribal. Sometimes that does mean that people's behaviour is not what it would be more generally in day-to-day interactions with individuals.
We all realise it's unacceptable. It shouldn't be happening. Unfortunately, it is happening, but more and more people are comfortable coming forward to report it to the police, to have it investigated.
What we don't want to get to the stage is where the fantastic product that football in this country is, people start to lose confidence in it and it starts to lose its appeal because people don't feel safe and secure in the stadiums.
I think it's got worse over the last 4 or 5 years since Brexit. Our numbers in terms of reported incidents in and around grounds were increasing prior to the lockdown.
The best sanction and the best deterrent for someone engaged in racism in a stadium is to see immediate action, that person arrested. What we have seen is more than half of games now throughout the leagues are police free. We know it cost at least the police nearly £48 million to support football with police officers. Now, we recovered around £7 million of that nationally. So if you think of that, you know, the police are subsidising a multi-billion-pound industry to the tune of £40 million a year.
I think there should be a stiffer ban. I really do. I think it's got to be something like 5 years. There's no point banning them for a few months. You know, you've got to name and shame these people, because there's no place, not just in football, but in society.
It's sometimes disappointing when we do get offenders to court and we seek a banning order. We've seen people convicted of quite serious violence and racism then not receiving a banning order.
We should see it more as something that's not just specific to football. Think about it culturally. Think about, say, punishments that go far beyond just being able to watch games or participate in sport, because at the end of the day, racism in sport is one thing, but racism in society appears to be something that's separate.
We can't have a system or a mechanism in place whereby people are feeling so fearful of going to enjoy a sport that actually they feel they have to stay at home because they're not sure how to report abhorrent behaviour, they're not sure that action will be taken. So we need to create a culture and a mechanism by which people are aware that reporting leads to action.
At the moment, there's a multitude of ways in which people can report racist behaviour.
They, of course, can speak to a steward or anybody who is around the stadium in kind of official attire. They can absolutely report it to the police if there are police in stadium. There's also the opportunity to report it via the Kick It Out app, so to do so discreetly on telephones. And a number of football clubs also have confidential text lines that people can activate while sitting in their seats using their mobile phones.
We have a campaign called Take a Stand, where we encourage fans in particular to, where they see discrimination, call it out.
I would welcome being able to develop a single mechanism for reporting throughout the league, so it makes it easy for us all to market a single number. And then the other benefit of that is that we don't have a fragmentation of information with different reports going into different places. If it could all be brought into one place where we, together with the leagues, the clubs and relevant stakeholders, could make an assessment, that would then better enable us to make a coherent response to try and tackle issues.
We, from an FA standpoint, of course, want to create an environment where anybody can come to a match, can feel welcome, can feel like they belong and can feel safe. And we will keep doing everything that we can and that is within our jurisdiction and within our power to make sure that we help to create those safe environments.
I mean, everyone wants a passionate atmosphere at football. It's part of the enjoyment, and I think over the first weekend of the season we saw that it's so much better. But we can see, we know how bad football was in the 80s. Certainly over the first weekend of the season, we did see a significant number of incidents of disorder in and around football matches. Now we need to make sure we put the effort in so that we don't see that gradual backward step to where we once were.
Football for me is a community sport, a community event. I remember when I used to go as a young lad, you'd sit in the same seat, you get to know the people around you, and that's ultimately what we want people to do. We want people to come to football games and enjoy football for what it is.
It's not surprising, but you know, I'm not overly pessimistic about it either, because I think I see the kind of shoots of progress in football when it comes to what inclusion and inclusive behaviours in and around football, and I see some real positive progress. So I think this is a moment in time. It's not a great set of stats, but I'm looking forward to seeing the next set of stats, hopefully in a couple of years' time, showing that we've made massive progress and people feel a bigger sense of belonging around being in the game.